Hello there and welcome to the Booty Blueprint. I am so excited you're here. Let's talk glutes. I am very passionate about talking all things glute building. If you're new to my page, my name is Leslie. I have been a certified personal trainer for almost 10 years, and I'm a health and fitness coach specializing in weightlifting for the woman's physique. So body recomposition and reshaping specifically for that hourglass shape and the juicy toned glutes that I know all women want. So I'm very excited to share this blueprint with you today on how to design the perfect peach workout. You will get so much value from this. And this is my personal glute transformation. One thing I will say is there are years between these photos, okay? So yes, you need the proper programming and technique, but you also need patience, all right? So keep showing up. Progress doesn't happen overnight. Let's get right into the blueprint here. Now, I will also say there's different ways to program your lower body lifts, different templates you can use. This is just one that I love, and it's going to be very glute focused. So what you do is you pick one exercise from each of the following categories. And below you will see the 4 different lower body movement patterns: the thrust, the squat, which also includes lunges, the hinge, and abduction. Okay. And that's it. You do not want to overcomplicate your glute programming. The technique is going to be where the complexity is, mastering these movement patterns, and the intensity or level of difficulty is going to be how hard you train. Okay, you got to push your sets to build muscle. Now, for each of these movement patterns, I have just picked some of the more basic go-to exercises and or some of my personal favorites. There are tons of different variations of all of these lifts. But under the thrust category, you have obviously your dumbbell glute bridges, cos bridges, barbell thrusts, machine thrusts. Squat lunge category is probably going to be the category that is the biggest, and you can actually pick 2 from this category, especially if you're more advanced and you can handle more volume. You can definitely pick a bilateral squat and a unilateral lunge. Okay. You don't want to pick like 2 bilateral movements or 2 unilateral movements because that would be overkill of that same thing. But you can pick a bilateral and a unilateral from the same category. Hinge category, it's going to be a little bit more focused on RDLs and glute hyperextensions. I do not suggest that anyone do deadlifts unless you are very advanced, okay? I hardly program deadlifts unless I know a client is very advanced. And then also good mornings. Abduction movements, abduction machine, that's anytime the knee is extending from the hip and you're going to be working the glute medius here. So you can also pick 2 from this category as well, because you're not going to be doing too much damage to the glutes. You're working the glute in a shortened position here. So you can definitely, if you want to, and you have time for more volume, you can pick 2 from the abduction category. But this is the blueprint. And with all of these, choices here, you can design literally dozens of lower body workouts just from this template design. I have gone ahead and given you 2 sample glute programmed workouts here. So glute workout number 1 is going to be beginner friendly, but let me say beginner friendly does not mean easy, okay? It's beginner friendly in the fact that it's very straightforward, one exercise from each movement pattern, and one of the more basic variations of that movement pattern. That being said, I could still go into the gym and crush this lift. I've been lifting for 11 years. Okay. Again, the complexity is in the technique and the difficulty is in the intensity. So it depends on like the training intensity that you're using, the weights that you're picking, and the intensity that you are pushing your sets. All right. So we start out with thrusts, then dumbbell drop squats, which I love, very beginner friendly squat variation. Then you have your dumbbell RDL, which is an amazing lift. Okay, it takes a lot of skill. This is probably the one lift that my clients come to me the most, and we dial it in and we dial it in. But once you get it, it is booty building magic. And then we have a glute medius kickback. Now, this is a unilateral exercise. You want to have incorporate unilateral in your training. And I am doing a kneeling variation, which you can bring a box or a bench over and do kneeling, or you can do standing. Okay, so to hit the glute medius and to have this be an abduction movement, you need to rotate the knee and the foot out at 45 degrees, and that's going to build that glute shelf. Okay, so glute workout number 2, you can see I have 5 exercises selected here, and it's an example of doubling up under the squat lunge category. Okay, so leg press and Smith machine lunges are both in the same category. But like I said, if you're a little bit more intermediate, you can handle more volume, you can double it up because it's a bilateral movement and then a unilateral movement. So again, we start out with barbell hip thrusts, and these are just example reps and sets, by the way. Okay, I mean that can vary as well. There's a lot of nuance to this, but barbell hip thrusts are always a great way to start out a booty workout. You're going to be really activating those glutes in the shortened position. Then moving on to the leg press, the Smith machine lunges, which are so good for booty building. I love the stability of the Smith machine. And then 45-degree hypers here are the hinge exercise selection. So those are technically a hinge, okay? And this is another exercise that, sometimes women struggle with. Clients are feeling it more in their lower back. Reminder that all of this matters to have the right technique and form. Okay, the glutes need to be activating, and you need to know how to bias your glutes during the lift. Very important for growth. And then the last exercise here under the abduction category is the abduction machine. Now, to make it a true abduction, hitting that glute medius, you want to be seated upright. So if you see girls leaning forward on the abduction machine, there's nothing wrong with that at all. You're just going to be hitting more the glute max. To hit the glute medius, you want to be seated upright or leaning back. Okay. So I have one glute workout. You could do that as your first leg day of the week, and this could be your second leg day of the week. So between these 2 lifts, you could hit your glutes twice a week, and you can do these lifts progressively over weeks and make so much progress. If you do, please message me. Please tell me how you like the lifts. Please ask me any questions. I am always here for support. And like I said, with that blueprint, with that template, you can, create tons of lower body lifts with that. Now, I wanted to offer just a few extra booty building tips because there's so much to it. But always do mobility first. I always program appropriate mobility for my clients, especially upper body too. And that's another thing. You want a strong upper body to have a strong lower body. So make sure you're working upper, ladies. We want a strong, back and core, etc. Always start with mobility. Unilateral exercises are so important to incorporate. So you don't have to have a unilateral exercise every leg day, but I highly encourage it. To make, hinges unilateral or thrust unilateral, you can also incorporate B stance exercises, which I love. Machines are wonderful for muscular hypertrophy, but make sure you master the natural biomechanics first. Example here is to master a free weight hip thrust before you move to a machine hip thrust, because machines can be a very fixed variation. And if you don't have the right form, you can actually hurt yourself almost even worse. Okay. Machines, you have to have good form too. And then nutrition. Nutrition is such a big part of this. Never go into your leg day or any workout without being fueled. Okay, so you want the proper, macronutrient dense, micronutrient dense meal to go into your lifts. Make sure that you are fueled for your workouts, and don't be afraid to eat. Okay, you cannot build the muscle you want and the dream body you want without food. So focus on mastering the basics. I will say this a million times. You need the proper progression of exercises to do this. So for example, I never start anyone out on a barbell back squat. Any barbell exercise is going to be more advanced. You need a program that meets you where you're at and builds you up in the right progression of exercises. Okay. And again, it's all about mastering the basics, dialing in technique. Don't overcomplicate it. I already covered that. You want 2 to 3 glute workouts each week. One typically is not going to cut it if you really want to build. I did not see good growth with my glutes until I trained twice a week. You can do 3 glute days a week too, or glute accessory movements depending on your programming. Again, I go into all of this in my program, and give you an individualized structured plan, but you want to make sure you're not overtraining or undertraining. So there definitely is a sweet spot there. And again, the complexity is in the technique. Mastering an RDL, mastering a thrust, mastering a push-up. I mean, training is a skill, okay? And then the level of intensity that you're bringing, that's where the difficulty is. The amount of weight you choose to push and how hard you choose to push your sets. We can't get comfortable in the gym or we won't grow, okay? And so I just wanted to offer some client inspo as well. These are recomposition clients, meaning they were wanting to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. FYI, you can absolutely build muscle in a slight deficit. Okay, you don't have to bulk. You can lose fat and build muscle at the same time. It's called recomposition. It's what I do, but you want to have the right programming and a structured nutrition roadmap to help you reach your goals. Again, nutrition is a huge key to this, but you can see these beautiful women are building their booties, not only keeping their glutes, but shaping them as they are losing inches on their waist. It is not about working harder. It's about having a smarter plan. All my clients are typically training in the gym only 3 to 4 days a week. I've only ever lifted 4 days a week. Okay, so with the right plan, you can have the most efficient and effective use of your time in the gym. These clients are significant because they were hard gainers, meaning, there's women out there that are trying to build. They want to gain. It's not all about fat loss. There's women that want to build shape. These women came to me struggling to grow and especially their glutes. We corrected technique. Now, again, I can't stress how important this is. The gal on the right, she was very quad dominant. And so we had to get her glutes to fire and unlock. And this is just an 8-week, 8-week transformation. She started to see growth. She learned how to program her lifts and eating to fuel her gains. Consistency with the right programming. Okay. Anybody can build, I promise you. Just finishing off with my own recomposition transformation. This is age 28 to 42. And to be honest, I weigh more on the right. So, it's not about weight loss, ladies. It's not about what the scale says. It is muscle to body fat ratio. So, if you want to transform your body, no amount of exercise or, spinning your wheels in the gym is going to help you see that growth or, physique development if you're not building muscle. And that is a skill. It is a life tool that I am so passionate about. So that is what I do. But most importantly, weight training has been the biggest vehicle for me of self-empowerment. All right. So it's not just about confidence in the gym, it is about confidence and empowerment that flows into your life, your work, your relationships, what you attract into your life, etc. So I am a huge advocate for all women getting their booties in the gym and finding out how freaking strong you are. Okay. Please do not hesitate to reach out on my Instagram DMs. I am always happy to chat with you. If you want to, share wins, if you try these lifts, let me know. If you have any questions, I know sometimes it's hard to reach out, but please don't hesitate to DM me. I love connecting with women in my community. And finally, I will just leave you as well with some inspiration from my amazing clients. Like I said, weight training it helps to up level our entire lives. I love the community of women that I have created. And again, if you have any questions about my program or your fitness journey, I am always here. Okay. So let me know if you use this template, if you have any questions, and happy booty building. Thank you for watching.